Easy English. Panzer IV. The Panzer IV was a medium tank developed by Germany in the late 1930s and widely used throughout World War II. It was designed as a support tank, with the primary role of providing fire support to the infantry and acting as a mobile artillery piece. The Panzer IV was produced in large numbers, with over 8,800 tanks built during the war. The tank was used in a variety of roles, including anti-tank, anti-aircraft, and reconnaissance. The original Panzer IV was armed with a short-barreled 75 mm KWK-37L, 24 gun, which was effective against infantry but had limited anti-tank capabilities. The tank also had a coaxial 7.92 mm MG-34 machine gun and a hull-mounted 7.92 mm MG-34 machine gun for anti-infantry and anti-aircraft defense. The Panzer IV had a crew of 5, a driver, commander, gunner, loader, and radio operator, with a weight of approximately 25 tons. It was powered by a Maybach HL 120 TRM engine that produced 300 horsepower and gave it a top speed of around 25 miles per hour on roads and a range of about 130 miles. The suspension system of the Panzer IV consisted of interleaved road wheels and torsion bar suspension, which gave the tank good mobility over rough terrain. The tank's armor was relatively thin compared to some of the heavier German tanks, but it was still effective against most Allied weapons at the time. The armor ranged from 10 mm to 80 mm thick, with the thickest armor being located on the front of the tank. The sides and rear of the tank had thinner armor, which made them vulnerable to anti-tank weapons such as bazookas and Panzerfausts. Over the course of the war, the Panzer IV underwent several upgrades and modifications. As the war progressed and the Allies developed better tanks, the Panzer IV was upgraded with a longer-barreled 75 mm KWK-40L, 48 gun, which greatly improved its anti-tank capabilities. Later models of the Panzer IV were fitted with Scherzen armor skirts, which were metal plates attached to the sides of the tank to provide additional protection against anti-tank weapons. Later models also featured improved engines and transmissions, as well as better optics and communications equipment. The Panzer IV saw action on all fronts during the war, including in North Africa, the Eastern Front, and Western Europe. Battle of Gazala 1942. The Panzer IV played a significant role in the German victory at the Battle of Gazala in North Africa. German tank units, including Panzer IVs, engaged in a fierce battle with British tanks, with the Panzer IVs using their 75 mm guns to knock out many enemy tanks. Battle of Kursk 1943. The Panzer IV was one of the main tanks used by the German forces during the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history. Panzer IVs engaged in heavy fighting with Soviet tanks, with some tanks engaging in close-quarters combat. Battle of Normandy 1944. The Panzer IV was used extensively during the Normandy campaign, where it was used in a variety of roles, including anti-tank and anti-aircraft defense. The tanks engaged in numerous battles with Allied tanks, including the British Sherman and American M4 tanks. Battle of the Bulge 1944. During the Battle of the Bulge, the Panzer IV was used in a counterattack by German forces to retake the town of Stoumont in Belgium. The tanks engaged in close-quarters combat with American tanks, with the Panzer IVs using their 75 mm guns to great effect. Despite its effectiveness early in the war, the Panzer IV was eventually outclassed by newer Allied tanks and was gradually phased out of service in favor of newer designs. Thank you for watching. If you don't mind, please subscribe to this channel.